From that little cuckold. Oh, Jesus. Said it again. Oh, jeez. Who wrote this stuff? From that little corner in the Northeast. The land of colonialism and reverence. Folks, this is Dark Hour Paranormal. I am your host tonight, Michael Roser, and of course, we are expecting Jared Murphy to pop in this evening to discuss at length and in detail the interview that he conducted with Joe the Whistleblower. Much of this particular interview encompassed MK Ultra, mind control. We spoke about music, frequencies, 432 hertz versus 440 hertz. You know, it's very interesting. Just to start on that one quick note. At 432 hertz, when you tune everything down, just that small increment, it's been measured, even though it's somewhat minute, it is observable that when you're listening to music in that frequency range, your blood pressure drops. In fact, your breathing, your rhythm slows down into a more relaxed state. Perhaps this is something more meditative in respect to its origin than entertainment, the way we look at, 440. Just an idea, Now, for whatever reason, I haven't got Jared yet here in the studio, so I'm going to hang tight for a little bit and see if he's coming in. Maybe something's going on. I don't think there was a miscommunication. We talked about this yesterday, that we were going to perform the show, but regardless, always give the benefit of the doubt. You never really know what happens on the other end. So while I'm here, a lot of you know that I have just come back from a trip out to Montauk, spent a good solid week out there with about 25 other people between two houses who were all Montauk survivors or secret space program survivors or both. Quite incredible, the experience, and I'd like to relay a little bit of that. I am working on the edit for the documentary that I've been promising for 2 years, but believe me, folks, this one was worth the wait. And the way that I'm putting this together, you guys are really going to get something out of this. Very informational, going beyond what we know about Preston Nichols, Duncan Cameron, Al Balick, and their narrative. Of course, there is a little bit of a foundation in there because some of these people did work closely with 1, 2, or 3 of those particular people that we talk about when it comes to whistleblowing the Montauk Project. And they do remember, being in some sort of working environment, let's put it that way, mildly, when it came to their connections to these whistleblowers. If you'd like to ask questions, I'm just going off the hip here tonight. You guys come on in. Charisma 2 times P or 2XP. What's up, brother? Sister? I don't know. Welcome to the show, and thanks for popping in for the first time. I hope you enjoy. I don't know what we're going to provide tonight, but I certainly encourage you to go back into the archives. There's something there for everyone, and of course, moving forward, I generally have the guest here, and we're ready to go. Regardless, we're going to have a good time for a little bit, as long as we are alive, which we are. John P. Adventures, what's up, my friend? Longtime supporter here at Dark Hour Paranormal. I'm going to give everybody a little hello tonight. Lisa Drawlin, I hope I said that correctly. Welcome for the first time as well. I think I've seen you over at GoofOn quite a few times, and I think most of these names pop in from one of several different channels that I frequent or moderate at or have been a part of for quite some time. Mind Garden. Hi, Faith. What's going on? Oh, awesome. Yeah, we again in respect to the awesome people that we met down in Montauk. There were. I don't even know where to begin with this. Okay. Sometimes people come out of the woodwork, and energy attracts energy the way that you would imagine, especially in certain circumstance where we're drawing in healing for the spots that we worked with in Montauk and doing our best to etherically ascend into those particular vibrational folds. And as a result, release some of the harbored energy, I'm going to put it that way, that is in Camp Hero and has been for a very long time. Faith and her mother, very, very wonderful people. I started feeling a little bad, once they came back to the house. I didn't know the pizza situation. I figured there would be enough for everybody. You know what? There was, but we all had loose plans, and we were kind of, again, just, shooting from the hip most of the time. And Mind Garden, thank you so much for coming in and joining us tonight. I know you and Mike Colantino have been in contact, and I do hope you have the opportunity to go out with him on one or many of his excursions. I think you'll have a great time. That being said, let's see what else we've got present tonight. Cashew Gesundheit, as always, my A+ top moderator. Sorry, but you want to talk about somebody who's there and working in so many different ways for this channel without being a parent. I mean, God, this is one of those silent awards that should be honored to Cashew. And eventually, I'll put it this way, I have something in mind. We'll get there. Hang tight, Cashew. Long Island Bigfoot, what's up, brother? Good to see you here. I don't know how long you're sticking around, but I thank you for dropping in. As always, Renee Cruz, another longtime supporter of Dark Hour Paranormal. He was with Goofon. I mean, Third Phase of Moon. A lot of these people stay close to the circle. All right. I know we have only a handful walking in at the moment. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Well, great. I appreciate that. Hopefully it's not from the black factions that we're all dealing with. Montauk is strange. What's up, brother? This is Brian Minnick. He is also featured in the upcoming documentary. Mike Colantino does make an appearance as well, and I won't tell you the exact context of that because I'm going to leave that for when this is premiered. You'll see what we're doing with this. It's a lot different than the first one, but the accounts are still personal. They're just not necessarily my accounts and my experiences in that sense. So again, this is going to be a more acute focus when it comes to the Montauk Project and the survivors. It's really based on the healing that needs to happen. I won't tell you the title yet. I'll leave that for a bit. And when you see it, you'll know. Those of you who are familiar with the Montauk Project and the story, you'll know why I chose the title that I did. Mystic Q, what's going on? Thank you so much for popping in tonight. I've seen you quite a few times in the shows here, and I appreciate your presence along with everybody else who's here. Now, once again, I don't know where Jared is. He's my right-hand man in many ways, and we started a production company together called ArcheoX, and this is going to encompass our time in Belize, what we're doing moving forward in Belize, Santa Cruz to be exact. Very, very awesome site that has been only partially excavated, that we have been privy to step into in a certain way there we can cultivate I have to be very careful with my words here because a lot is on the table. We're going to bring archaeology in the largest sense to this particular location through certain mediums. And what this will do in turn will provide an economy and jobs for the village that are there, or the villages that are there. It's really one that we're working with, the Mayan village, to say the very least. There's a big plan behind it, but I'm also working on that documentary. I haven't yet begun to fully edit that. Still waiting for a little bit of footage from Jared, who was laid up with a massive Widowmaker heart attack. Yeah, you don't want one of those. And he's in the 1% that actually survived that particular type of heart attack. That being said, there's a big difference between cardiac arrest and heart attack, but apparently when he had the heart attack, it put him into cardiac arrest, and the dude was dead for 45 minutes. All right. Doesn't have any recollection of this. Somehow he hung on the way that he did. And God, thank you that he did, because I couldn't imagine losing such a beautiful mind as Jared has in his head, especially so soon with so much in front of us. We're blossoming over in this way. And I know that I've come short up on the interviews a little bit. There's a reason for that. There's been a lot of focus, as I've mentioned before. I can now start to share some of this with you as we go forward. I'd say probably by the end of September, maybe a little bit earlier, the documentary will be released on Montauk. And then I want to get the Belize documentary out by maybe Christmas time. So there's a timeline here that we're working in. Again, if you guys have any questions about what we've been doing over here, what was Montauk like that I haven't, talked about as I go forward here, Belize, anything like that, anything, ask me questions. We're here to answer those for now. And I'm going to give it another 15 minutes and see if Jared comes in. So right now, this is just kind of an update with what we're doing with the channel. Of course, still working very very closely with Third Phase of Moon, Rich Giordano from Goof On, Dr. J Radio Live, Apollo Asteria. She's been hanging out with Laura Eisenhower. They're going to Stonehenge and other places as well, having an absolute blast. If you guys follow them on any social media, you will see the pictures of them gallivanting through the world of esoterica. It's quite an awesome match to see them together. And of course, we have other plans here that a lot of this goes into the realm of collaboration. And again, there's so much I can talk about, but let's just put it this way. I plan to make my way down to Hawaii early next year, if that is something that we can do. And I think we can do that. And there are quite a few reasons for that expedition. It's been 2 years I've been trying to get down there. Of course, Third Phase of Moon has invited me quite cordially, and I just haven't been able to do it. I've been so busy doing something else, which it sounds weird, right? I mean, Hawaii, other shit, well, no, eventually it all connects and comes together. And these guys have been very busy making their movies, their documentaries, which they are going to release another one very soon. And believe me, I've seen some nice cuts of this, and holy hell, it might just be the best one yet. Now, this is 4, I think, out of, starting with Countdown to Disclosure, moving all the way up to Endgame. And, now we're going to have this next one. Just wait. It's absolutely revolutionary for time. And I don't care what you think about Third Phase of Moon, as whatever people decide to say. Watch the movies. Okay, take the information that's in there, see what's imparted. Dr. Stephen Greer, Billy Carson, just to say a couple names out there. You're going to see these people coming forward more and more, especially with some of the narrative that these guys have put forward, saying, about 700 whistleblowers within the government that have the potential of coming out and talking. Holy hell, this light is bright tonight. Sorry if I'm squinting here. Let's see here. Anybody say anything? I feel like Long Island Bigfoot here going through the chat. No, it's just not something I usually have the opportunity to do. So, Charisma says, I see you talked to Penny Bradley. Is it safe to assume you know who James Rink is and his Montauk testimony? Charisma, he's in the documentary. He was one of the people. He was basically the spearhead of that trip that we took out to Montauk. Now, the curious thing about the way that James and I sort of connected was that, I had already planned to go to Montauk initially, between the 11th of August and the 15th of August to observe the 40-year biorhythm. And of course, we'd done this last year, the year before, and we'll continue to do this next year and so on. James invited me to come to Montauk and had mentioned a different date. And I said, sure, I have no problem going to Montauk twice. Let's do this. And it just so happened within the last, the 3 weeks leading up to actually heading out that direction, I got in touch with him again, and he, through a few different people, we figured we're all going to be there together. So, I mean, that just worked out perfectly. So yes, James Rink is in the documentary. Alondra Markman as well. I have testimony from Peter Moon, John D'Souza. I mean, we got a lot of people talking about the Montauk Project. And, when you listen to somebody like John D'Souza, yeah, just wait till you hear what that guy has to say. He's an amazing guy. And of course, you could see him in a lot of different interviews. He's been around for quite a bit, but he's the sole individual responsible for the X-Files, the first season. I don't know if you guys know this, but his office had a file of these odd cases that they had collected over some time, and he was told to send it to a particular office, and it was intercepted by somebody in Hollywood. And sure enough, they procured those documents and they read through them, and that's what created the first season of the X-Files back in the 90s. What came after that, obviously was different because they were outed at that point. But we know John had a big hand in that series inadvertently. Didn't even mean to, of course. Conundrum, what's up, brother? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. Yep, just to reiterate, Jared's MIA. So, I mean, it could be a host of things. It's all good. We'll get back on this. I don't know, again, if we had switched communication on one thing or another. Regardless, doesn't matter. He'll be back on probably within the next couple days. That being said, I'll be on Spaced Out Radio on Saturday. And it was Again, form either way. Right. Man, we get away. There are some people that we and not anything meeting, and we've got to get through this. We've got to get over it. If there's a layer to peel back somebody's truth, well, listen, we'll pull it off like a band-aid and we'll figure it out from there. But up until that point, well, we got to stick together here. All right, let's just check in here. Yeah, I know. I see it's buffering too, man. I'm sorry. Hopefully that won't sustain. Nathan from the Quantum Show, Nathan Allen, is in the house. Everybody, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Hey, you told me that you wanted me on your show. I never heard back from you. Go ahead and hit me up. You know where I am, my friend. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, let me tell you just a little bit about what the experience was like going down to Montauk, because the way that I've covered the documentary, most of the footage I've taken is ancillary in respect to the overall motif of the trope that I'm putting together. So you're not going to see, us hanging out at the dinner table eating home cooked meals by Sylvia, our wonderful chef that took care of us for an entire week. Every single meal was laid out and cooked by her. Beautiful, beautiful soul. Of course, she has her own story. You're not going to see that type of stuff within the documentary. So let me tell you about it. So Mike and Jessica basically made a beeline for Montauk, and they had the understanding that everybody was to arrive at one of the two houses on, I think it was it was Thursday. Was it the 11th? It was the 11th. No, it had to be the 10th, maybe. All right. Yeah, regardless, they get down there, and people are starting to file in, and hands are being shaken, and people are starting to get to know each other. And there's this realization, even when I got there, the following evening, that not everybody knew each other. In fact, there were people just meeting each other for the first time, but we were all convening under these two roofs, which actually became one roof. That most of the people went back to sleep in the other house, but they'd be back, hanging out with us in the main house, having breakfast or whatever the case may be. We were all together for the majority of that time. So it was a really unique experience to come into contact with so much energy that had its own unique patterns. Every single person had a different vibration about them. And a lot of that, I think, was attributed to the experiences they had with the project or, secret space program, whatever they had undergone. There's a certain soul imprint that, can be observed. And I won't go into that right now, but long story short, you can feel it first. And it was just, again, a wonderful opportunity. We all got to hang out and really get to know each other on, a certain level, personal, spiritual, and otherwise. Now, you want to talk about conversations that will blow your brain halfway out the side of your ear, just standing in the room listening to it, like a fly on the wall all day. That's what it was like all day. My God, we were in our heyday, just having the openness to be able to freely express those experiences without any sort of judgment. Yes, there were questions. You have to ask questions and go back and forth. You garner more detail. You remember more of the XYZ. Becomes one big snowball experience. And again, we didn't forget to have fun in that entire experience. We had a great time. Mike brings down the boiled peanuts. It's become a tradition of ours now. And this is, again, the third year running, gets an entire can of boiled peanuts. And the first time I tried them, I took a bite and I said, I don't really know. Because I expected there to be a little bit of texture, and it wasn't. They were squishy, right? For those of you who've had these. I came back about 5 minutes later, so let me try that again. And I can't put them down since. Look, in fact, listen, I live up here in Massachusetts, in the Northeast. This is a Southern snack. Okay. We don't have this up here. So I had to go out and buy a few cans. Yeah. Well, I mean, you get the gist there. Green screen does its job, but it's odd. It's yellow. Anyway. Yeah. I had to go out and get some boiled peanuts. Made a batch yesterday for a couple friends of mine. And no, the day before, couple guy, one of the guys I live with and a buddy that came over, never had boiled peanuts before. They both loved them. So I don't know what you thought I said, Jay Marcus, but I will leave that to the YouTube friendly words. Let's leave it that way, I suppose. God, that was horribly executed on my end. So throughout this journey, we obviously went to Camp Hero. I don't think it was a focus at first, but then as soon as we got there, Brian Minnick did a fantastic job sort of tour guiding people around initially. And we performed something there, which I won't go into depth about right now because you'll see it in the documentary. But there's something very positive in affect that came about as a result of that action. That's all I'll say. Okay. We get excited for this one. Believe me, it's what needed to happen. And I think a lot of it was intuitively based, but they had a very logical, rational organization to the way they were executing this particular event. And it was very effective. And I think all of us felt that. And you know what? It was done initially. It was done right out the gate. So we had the rest of the week to kind of settle into that energy and allow the energy to settle into us, which I think is so important when you approach something as heavy as the Montauk project or any of these black projects that involve, reprogramming, or trauma in any way. I mean, I'm looking into MK Ultra, these poor people, most of these guys were just, committed to an insane asylum or some sort of hospital. I mean, a lot of women with postpartum depression, would go in and they'd be to forced drug intake. And of course they'd be strapped down and, electroshock was a big part of that therapy, if you want to call it that, because it was experimentation. But, this was back in 53 going in to the 60s. Of course, this began that whole lineage of the Phoenix 1, 2, and 3, which was the Montauk Project. And they just expounded upon everything that they had done in MK Ultra because they actually garnered a lot of data from that. I mean, I think this is probably the same people were involved, even though MK Ultra, as we know, the program was primarily Canadian. It doesn't seem to matter. That type of thing crosses borders when you have that type of information and research. Let's see here. God, this thing is bright. Yeah, we missed the corn. We missed the corn. That's not entirely anyone's fault, really. I gotta pull this down, dude. I'm sorry. Okay. It's not entirely anyone's fault. The last 2 days, I'd kind of mentioned that I've been working with Reiki for a very long time. Certified Reiki master, whatever the hell that means, in today's world. But, I've been practicing for a very, very long time. And I say this incredibly humbly, right? But I've forgotten how effective that type of treatment can be, given somebody who's worked with it for as long as I have. And I started offering the service to, people, whether they were dealing with something emotional, they had physical trauma, some of these people. And it seemed I was making a very large impact on them in a positive way. So the last day we were there, I needed to catch that ferry back across Long Island Sound. And I got caught up for most of the morning and early afternoon, going into the early afternoon, just performing Reiki sessions for everybody who was interested. And it was wonderful, absolutely needed. And I know it was supposed to be that way because Mike did get me to the ferry with 3 minutes to spare to get the ticket and get on the damn. Sure enough, as soon as I stepped on, packed my bags in the back, off we rolled. So we got everything done that we needed to say the very least. And of course, it was one hell of an experience all the way around. Now, I'll go into this a little bit further as we go forward. I'm going to hold some of the details for now. But again, we had about 25 people outside of myself, Brian, and Michael that joined on this expedition. It was incredible and unlike any sort of gathering that I've been involved with before. And of course, you look at Camp Hero, you look at Montauk, it's an incredibly anomalous place in and of itself. And of course, the energies that were there naturally lended to some of that connection, some of that recall that people experienced, and some of the healing that went through, which there was an enormous amount. And it just came from different sources, the origins of which sometimes we didn't have an explanation for, but we knew we set something in motion to allow that to occur. And then sure enough, boom, right there, we have the result. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll give us another couple minutes here. I just wanted to give you a quick update, seeing as I'll have to reschedule Jared once again, which will be fine. Be fine. I'm sure he's okay. Might have forgotten. He's almost completely recovered from his heart attack. almost 100%. He's got another couple months, maybe 3 at most. I think it was less than it had to be, where he can travel again, and within certain guidelines, sort of live life as this how excuse me, live life as this hadn't happened to him. So that's amazing. And again, being in that 1 percentile to survive, I don't know what he's done well in other lives, but here he is to continue living this one. Um, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that I'm gonna save for the documentary that's coming up. What comes next? And I will comment as I go forward with this, because I'm digging through the footage, and some of this was from last year. We really were able to get into certain places that people weren't supposed to or hadn't for a very long time, and we were able to film in there and take what we needed to in that regard, viscerally, of course, and bring that back. And that's going to be interwoven into what we're doing now. I mean, I knew last year that I needed the interviews. I needed the people present. I needed the participation. It couldn't just be within the immediate camp that I had been working with. I had to reach and extend outwards. Now, within that journey, I will tell you that there were a couple people that I had really wanted to get into this. Okay. One of those guys was Joe Lafreno. He's a nice guy, and he divorced himself from a lot of this stuff because he was ridiculed so badly. And Christopher Garantano, that son of a gun, he did not do Joe any favors by having him in his I think it was the Dark Files. I think it was, because the Montauk Chronicle, I don't know if he was in the Montauk Chronicle. It was one of the two uh, productions that he had put together. But again, he was just sort of, Joe was always used by people, and it really saddened me to the point where this guy was trying to get his story out and was met with such adversity in way of ridicule. And it got to him to a certain point, and I can't even go into the detail of how that affected him. Just suffice to know that it kept him from wanting to talk about this ever again. Now, years passed, and I have heard back from him through Brian Minnick, and he said, yeah, I guess the idea is maybe he'll eventually warm up to this just to talk about it. Listen, even if he doesn't want to go on record, I'd still like to talk to him. So either way, I know he's out there, and I wish him well, and hope to hear from him soon through Ryan, of course. um, there was another person who was on the show for an interview and had claimed to be a Montauk survivor. Time and time again, this person said, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. Okay, great. I give her the instructions. I send the shots the way this needs to be. It's very easy. Put the camera about this far from your face if you're not equipped with a lavalier or anything like that. We can make this happen. I'll give you step-by-step instructions. Okay, sure, no problem. Then just completely flaked out on me, and they gave me that ghosted shit that kids do these days. Well, listen, you know what? It comes down to who was really supposed to be in this, and I found those people when I went to Montauk this year. Every single person that was there was a supportive system within what we were trying to discover within ourselves, and how we would express it, to the world. And some were more involved in that manner than others. Some are just more content to tell their story and move on to the next thing. Others are more curious about what are we going to do with this next? Where does it go? Blah blah blah. XYZ. So again, there was a lot of interest there, and we really had a fantastic time out in Montauk. And for a lot of these people, it was the first time they'd been out there. A lot of these survivors that have memories, I mean, I can't imagine. Well, yeah, I can, because I went through it the first time I went out there. But to the extent that some of these people were physically present there, I mean, first wave Montauk survivors, that had to be an absolute trip, quite literally and figuratively, just to be in that same space. And the bravery that people would show just to do this, just step back. Listen, before I went to Montauk the first time, 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago, whatever the hell it was, I had a lot of trepidation leading up to that journey. And it started 3 days. Pull was coming directly from Montauk, which was weird. So I really couldn't. And it was causing me intense anxiety, which I don't really get that way. It was to the point where, I mean, I don't even know how to in with it. Like I did not that I didn't know what was going to happen going out there, but that the energy had recognized me, turned towards me, and because I had accepted that, was now calling me. And of course, we saw the first Montauk documentary, the Montauk Enigma, and the fruits of that particular endeavor. So, again, it's really, really important that we acknowledge the bravery of some of these people. Now, I understand that there are going to be folks out there that look at this and say, "Oh, this is too fantastic." I mean, the way that I'm presenting it, I'm trying to give support to show that this type of thing has happened before, and perhaps not to the fantastic time traveling degree that Preston Nichols might talk about, but it gets to a certain point where the threshold is reached and they shut the door, and you're not going to find anything beyond that threshold, but you'll see everything that led up to it. So we have to make an intellectual deduction, right? So I had Jim Goodall on the show a few back, and I had asked him a question, stopping him as he had mentioned certain things about technology and how far ahead we were militaristically. And I said to him, does this not imply what you're telling me, that we've done the Star Wars thing, we've done the Star Trek thing, that's well beyond what we've already done? I mean, does this imply that the secret space program actually has grounding, and that the people that experienced it may not be, full of shit? I'll put it that way. And he flat out said yes. Well, we need a little bit more validity, just like that. And, it might be hard to come up with physical evidence right now, but who knows what tomorrow brings? And I don't believe that these people are full of shit. Even if their story isn't as accurate as they think it is, they went through something that deserves the attention and the focus and research to at least bring them back from whatever trauma they experienced. And again, it's not just about the trauma. It's about whatever they were into, that it was so, how do I put this here? They encompassed certain aspects or deeds within these projects that they may, in a very conscious state, decide not to do, but were under certain factions of military, so they were ordered to do it and carried out based on that. It's very confusing if you're not looking at it in the nonlinear sense that's actually there. And even then, it's hard to kind of figure things out because it's stacked, right? A lot of the stuff is stacked. It's not linear the way that we talk about it. So, guys, keep your eyes out for that. Yeah, Montauk is strange. Peter is the last one living out of that immediate troop. And, as far as I understand, Peter doesn't really want to have much to do with it anymore, which I get. I mean, he's been into this, since I think the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken, 91, 92. Brian, you can correct me on that. But, whenever he met Preston Nichols, when he was giving his speeches down in Long Island, that's, you'll see. I mean, some of the testimony that he mentioned, you'll see. It was about 6 months that he kind of showed up and stalked out, Preston's different discussions before he decided that it was okay for him to move forward and start working and be associated with this individual, as crazy and wild as the story sounded. And I'm glad that he did. I'm very glad that he did. Regardless of whether you want to look at the Montauk Project as entertainment or reality, the story is out there for you to make that choice. Well, all right, guys, listen, unfortunately, Jared hasn't shown up, but I gave you a quick update here, and, we have a lot more to go into, but I'm going to let you go for the moment, because I think we're just after 11. It's not too late. But listen, I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm going to change that thumbnail in the title so everyone can see this is just an update. Hey, Pyramid 7, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the show. It's almost over, but welcome to the show. Hey, listen, if we had Jared, we'd have another good solid half hour in front of us, but that's okay. I do appreciate you guys sticking around, hanging out for this monologue, if you will. And keep your eye out for the rescheduling of this show with Jared. It's probably going to happen tomorrow. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it will probably happen on Saturday. So between tomorrow and Saturday, I will have Jared on here, and we'll be discussing this. Since, again, his heart attack, again, he's at a point where he's able to really, keep himself together, but every once in a while he forgets certain things. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but there's a very good possibility. And I would never, ever, ever hold it against him for that. So listen, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you. I look forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, you know what to do, right? Stay vigilant and stay explorative. And as the late Damian Gray would say, question everything. Till next time. Ciao.